Welcome everyone. This is the VFX panel at the Gen Con Film Festival. My name is Michael Wellenreiter. I'm moderating today. So we'll have each of the panelists introduce themselves, maybe with what film you're here with, and in some case films, and maybe like what your different hats are. Like some folks might be VFX artists, some might be editor and VFX, some might be director VFX. So starting here, please.
I'm TJ. My short film is King vs. Kong. It just played in the sci-fi shorts block. I'm a writer, director, and then I did the costumes and VFX. If you see the short, it's different kind of VFX, but yeah.
It's really good, by the way. I just saw
Yeah.
it.
Oh, you did? Oh, cool.
Yeah, the humor really landed.
Okay, sweet. That's thank you so much. That's me.
Okay, I'm Herman Wang. I am the creator of the web series Illuminagents, which screens tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So if you can make it, you still haven't missed it. Primarily, I create VFX in sort of a very indie capacity, so low budget, not too elaborate, but ideally high quality nonetheless. Just kind of trying to figure out the best way to do what I want to see on the screen.
My name is Kevin Rolls, and our short film is She Fell from Space. It's screened at 1 o'clock today. But if you take one of those, you can screen it online. I was the editor, and I did the VFX for it.
My name is Serena Covarrubias, and I am a writer, director, producer. And I do have a graphic background, and I worked on, obviously, She Fell from Space, but I did the AI effects for She Fell from Space.
Maybe we could start just with, for the attendees here, like, what is your kind of pre-production process like? If you're like a pure VFX artist, what are the conversations or assets you need in place to begin thinking about a new production? Or if you're a director, like, what kind of, pre-planning documents or procedures are you putting in place?
When I started making King vs. Kong, it was a totally new venture for me. It was shortly after Godzilla -1 and Godzilla X Kong, the two most recent ones came out. And I found out that there's a Godzilla convention in Chicago, and they had like a movie contest, and I was like, I have never dabbled in like monster kaiju movies before, but I like challenging myself. So, and I found out about it very late. So we made our costumes and our sets in about 2 weeks, and then we shot the whole thing in a day. And then it was like about a month of like, fine tuning the editing and stuff. So I'm used to like very contemporary, more grounded stuff. I do like a lot of comedy. I do some horror, but usually it's I always work on a very small budget, which again, if you have seen the short, you would get that. I literally, all the buildings, all the like the suit is made out of cardboard boxes, and the buildings for the city are made out of cardboard boxes that I took from work. I work at a movie theater, so we just took all the recycling stuff that was going to get thrown away and made it into a movie. So yeah, it was a much different. Like, I guess what I was getting at is that my normal pre-production for movies is writing the script, and then like it's all pretty much stuff that you can do on the day. So it was a very different thing having to like spend weeks in like my father's garage making everything for this, but it was great. I loved it. It's like some of the most fun I've had making a movie in a while. The whole time there's like behind the scenes footage of like during the fight, and I'm just off camera, and I'm literally like directing, going like and then you go and like I was directing, but also I was really having fun just like being that like hands-on with the product, with the VFX, and then professionally, I should say, I have worked on professional productions too, and I'm going to be an art director on a Western, and that's my first time with that title, so I'm kind of continuing this because it's not a field that I thought that I would be interested in, like VFX and art direction stuff, but I really have fallen in love with it over in the last like couple of years. Sorry, that was long, but
For us, for the season that's screening tomorrow, during this kind of the script breakdown process, that's when we started figuring out like what was going to be what in terms of VFX. So we knew that we had to do a number of green screen shots that were just from completely different episodes. So we booked one of the shooting days in a green screen room studio, and it was scene 17 and 34 and 56 or whatever it was, just because we knew. So we had to bring all the different costume sets and all the different actors and just kind of do the separate things all in one day, just because it makes it easier rather than having to rent the green screen studio multiple times. We knew some of the effects were going to be partially practical based, so we started planning out. We basically had some face mask, like rubber face mask stuff, so we started kind of figuring out what kind of mask we would need and what kind of treatment we would do to it, things like that. And some of it we knew was going to be just kind of vanilla, do the effect in post kind of thing. So we just had to plan the shots to make sure that we left room for the effect to actually be layered on top of it or underneath it or whatever. So, like I said, during the script breakdown process, that's when most of the decision making of that was made, and we knew how much of each thing we would need.
For ours is not heavily VFX, but for everything that we knew was going to be VFX, I just kind of went through the script and I just marked, what it was. So when I could go in the scene and edit it, then I would also mark the clips that were all going to be VFX. So I could kind of keep track of making sure I wasn't going to miss anything, by accident, and then kind of just knowing that these are going to have to be VFX later and work that way.
Well, technically, just to go back sooner, since we're on the same project, it started when I was going through the writing process. I looked at, and I actually asked you to download plugins so I could see some of what was possible. And so I would build that into the script. And then we had a sit down with DPs and post, and we walked through, okay, these are the shots we have in here. These are how we're going to approach these shots. Ours was even more complicated because we had practical effects, we had VFX, we had AI effects. And we were shooting in 2 formats, wide and vertical. So we had to have a lot of pre-planning. We had to know exactly what we were going to do and how we were going to make that effect. So that when we shot the plates, or when we did them, we made sure that this would turn out well. We also did test shots too, which I highly recommend you do. Because you don't have to have the perfect shot to be able to test out a VFX plugin, or to be able to test out if you can matte something, So we did that, and that turned out well, so we knew which VFX we were going to do. But it starts in the writing process on the writing side, because we do, much like what he was describing, we had to flag everything that would be that way. I had to know, because I also did the practical effects on set. So we had to work out how that would work, because there's pictures that move behind, there's stuff that's actually happening that was not VFX, that was practical. Because again, on set we had to keep track of, okay, now we're doing a VFX shot, now we're doing a practical effects shot, oh, this is going to be the AI shot. And AI in this particular project, in the widescreen version, was used more seamlessly so that you didn't notice it as much at all. So we did very gentle AI. In the vertical version, there's a whole AI section at the end. But the knowledge of what we could utilize as far as the process of what's going to be a VFX, what's going to be practical, what's going to be AI, what is easiest out of all those, and what looks the best. Those are the 2 questions we were constantly asking ourselves.
So maybe if everyone could identify during editing, what was a specific scene or moment that required the most iterative changes for a particular, piece of visual effects? In terms of how many versions did it go through, and what were the issues there that required that, depth of thinking?
Mine is a different perspective, I guess, than a different take than everyone else's. But so ours was just one was it kind of worked because the whole thing is just a big monster fight anyways, but like the robot suit was literally falling apart. Like it was a one-time use suit and that was it. So there were some things that happened that we ended up just writing. They were like, oh, he knocked that thing off. Yeah, that's because it was written in the story, right? Yeah. And then, but I don't know if this kind of counts. It's more of like an actor thing. But there's a part where the monkey, who was played by him right there, who also plays the sidekick character, but he's supposed to fall. The robot like knocks him down. He falls on this big. It's supposed to be like a power plant, and then it supercharges the monkey, and then he fights he beating up the robot. And he was supposed to fall on it, and it was supposed to like collapse, and then wanted like the towers to like collapse around him. I'm telling you, this was an empty cardboard box, but he's so tiny that he didn't even bend it. He hurt his back. So I had to put on the suit so I could jump on and like crumple it, and then I was the monkey for the last bit of the fight. I was like, that works if it's like supercharged anyways, because I'm like 2 feet taller than him too. So it's like, oh, he actually gets bigger and like beefier and stuff. But we rolled with it, and it works out.
I mean, usually, like I've been doing this for quite some time, so I mean, there's never been anything that I've had to rethink or rework so much, because I pretty much know what's going to happen. But I mean, there's one shot in what's going to be shown tomorrow, is that where a person is standing in a room, and he opens a portal, and you can see like another room through the portal, and he walks, and the camera follows him as he walks through, and so it changes from room A to room B as the camera's following him through. So that one was kind of that required a lot of diagramming and figuring out how to do, and shooting the separate components of that to make sure it would all like jigsaw together properly took quite a bit of planning and a little bit of testing like that, and that was a good thing you're saying. So we did test it, and it's like, okay, what we're thinking is going to actually work. So so on the actual shoot day, then we were just able to execute, bang, 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 and get it down, and yeah. So I mean, sometimes, like if you want to do like good VFX, that you should be a little ambitious. You should try to do something that you've never done before, or something that that maybe hasn't been done before, or just something that's new to you, and go for it, and just play with it, and hopefully you'll be able to pull it off.
There's a scene that we had. We actually AI'd this because we didn't want to burn a smoke detector for real, but an alien shoots a smoke detector and it gets charred. And so on the ground, the smoke detector is AI as being charred, but I had to keyframe it because it wouldn't track in After Effects, because our dog comes and sniffs it. And because she's like sniffing that it fell and burnt. And that so that had to get we retweaked a lot, because I had to keep going in and trying to get it so that it wasn't like jiggling all around and looking composited, and so that took me a while to do that one.
It was also a pain in the butt, because on the AI side, I had to AI a smoke alarm that was smoke. We should have practically done that with makeup, but at the time. And this is still the case with AI, where it wants to move things when it doesn't need to be moved. Like, I'm like, I just want it to be there, charred and smoking. Just be there, charred and smoking. And it would not. It'd be like, close-up charred and smoking, track shot charred and smoking. I'm like, I'm going to kill this thing. And so it would give a little movement, too, which was a problem, because the camera was on sticks. So a simple thing that should have been simple took way too much time.
That sounds like something where, practical might have been better.
Oh yeah, no, we totally would. But we didn't buy an extra smoke alarm, and we didn't want to pay for another one at the time, so we didn't think it through. But yeah, I would have definitely done that practically, although I wouldn't have done the smoke practically, because that would have been a little
no.
Yeah, trickier. But I would have smoked up the alarm afterwards. But yeah, it was a silly thing that took way too long, just because we were like, oh, the stupid AI won't stay still.
But yeah, smoke is a pretty easy plug-in to use, and it usually works pretty cleanly.
So Herman already has kind of spoken to this, but like the next question was going to be like, what was one of your stretch goals during your production? Or I know because you kind of talked about one, maybe you could have a different production. Like where you wrote something into the script or you received a script and you didn't really have any idea how to achieve it prior to embarking on a movie. And then kind of what was that like?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have.
Well, you said you'd never done a kaiju film.
Yeah,
right?
I was
So
kind of
you-
gonna say the
yeah,
whole.
you dove in.
That's kind of what I was
great.
gonna say. Is like,
Yeah.
since never doing it before, is kind of the entire thing. I knew I wanted to, especially with the Godzilla convention coming up. Like I said, I like to try new things, and so in a way, yeah, the entire thing. I had the monkey costume. It was a Halloween costume, so that was the one thing that I had already. But yeah, like the backdrop, I guess I would say the backdrop was like the last thing that we figured out. Because originally we were going to try to shoot it like, we were going to see if we could get access to the high school, our high school. It has like 2 or 3 floors, and so we could just shoot into the actual sky. Because I live in Michigan, a very heavily forested place, so there's trees everywhere you look. So yeah, we ended up, we built like a big, it was like a 8x12, I think, wooden frame, and then that's just one of my dad's a HVAC guy, so he has a lot of like tarps, and so that's where it was either stuff from my work, like left like recycled stuff, or stuff from my dad's garage because he has a lot of wooden tools and stuff laying around. So it was just an old tarp that he had, and then we hung it up, and it's like none of it looks real, but it's like that's not the point.
Yeah.
I'm hearkening back to like old like Showa era Godzilla movies where it's like that stuff doesn't necessarily, it looks better than
Yeah.
my stuff, but it doesn't look
No,
real either. So
yeah,
it's like
you can still tell though it's just a guy in a rubber suit
Yeah.
in a miniature city.
it's the
Yeah.
illusion. It sells the illusion enough to where
Yeah.
it does the job, and yeah.
I'm thinking like for the current season we're shooting now, there was a scene where I wanted like blood spurt, right? And under normal circumstances, like for any horror movie, you do that practical, and there's a reason you do practical because it works and it's easy. But like basically, it was literally just 2 seconds of blood spurt, and I didn't want to bother like putting plastic sheets everywhere and making sure we didn't stain anything and all that stuff. So I said, okay, we'll do it on a green screen. We'll spurt on a smaller scale against a green background, and then we'll just composite it. And it doesn't work as well as you might think. It kind of works, and for the 2 seconds, it's good enough. But yeah, nothing beats practical for that in the end. So I mean and again, I got lazy because I didn't want, like, if I were doing an entire feature, then yeah, I would definitely just go for it with the practical, and because we're going to be doing it for a lot of scenes, and you can clean up the room afterwards and all that stuff. But yeah, I didn't want to go through that much bother for 2 seconds, but. I don't know. In the end, like like I said, it kind of works, and it's only 2 seconds, and it's not the main thing. So I kind of got away with, a mediocre special effect. I feel like, but yeah, you got to make those kind of decisions when you're figuring out what to do.
I think that this Shoot Fell from Space was kind of the ambitious thing, because I'm not actually really a VFX person. But I'm like, you know what? I can figure out After Effects. I'll figure out how to do all the special effects the visual effects that we had in there, and we'll just figure it out. So, because there wasn't a huge plan of I know exactly how to do this. It was just she would just put stuff in the script and like, all right, I'll figure it out, I guess.
Like we can estimate this, but I think the other aspect to this is that this was in a lot of ways a proof of concept for us. We didn't think it was going to get distributed. And so now, because we're doing more of it, we're having to figure out, okay, we need to onboard other people to assist with this. But when we did the AI effects for it, AI had just kind of started to become a thing, and now it's become there's all these political undercurrents around AI. So now we're having to go, okay, for us, like, we have to make decisions based off of, do we use AI for something because we get X amount of budget, or can we not have to use AI for something because we're getting more budget? Because that's that's where we're at with it, you know. AI is good for some things, but there's a lot of legalities around licensing. And so this project was super ambitious overall because neither one of us had done special effects before. We had done some practical effects things, but we had to figure it out. So, you know, I think going about that now, it's just weird because 6 months ago it was a different world. When it came to that, now we're kind of diving into, if you use AI, it means all these things now too. So it's a heavy thing to have to deal with.
Question for you, the crashed UFO on the wall, was that AI?
Yep, that was
Okay,
AI.
Yeah.
So it's not to go too far down the weeds, but we shot the backyard. We shot it
Oh, without the UFO?
without
Yeah,
the UFO.
that's our backyard.
We
You
took
didn't
a-
get like a real UFO?
Yeah, well, you know,
Alright.
we couldn't get one on loan, you know. But, so we shot it, just so you know, like, again, the legalities of it, we purchased the license for the UFO design, and we animated the UFO in AI, so that we could own, A, the footage, because we shot the background, and B, the license for the UFO. So it's kind of animated.
That was a 3D model, or?
Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
so that's how we went about doing the AI, well, kind of. In AI effects, you have a still image that you can animate that it can work off of, or it can create something by itself. We gave it the UFO, we gave it the still of the backyard, we had it animate together. Now that took a lot of iterations, and I'm gonna say right now, when it comes to VFX, it is less time, if you know what you're doing in VFX, than to use AI. It takes too much time sometimes because you're constantly hitting it to try and get it to do what you want it to do. It's getting kind of better, but you know, you gotta wait. If you know your tools well, that's quicker, you know?
Yeah, if you know a 3D modeler, like, make friends with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do them a bunch of favors, like, you know, send them, just show up at their doorstep with cookies or, you know, whatever, and, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
get to the point where they owe you a favor or something.
Yeah, but I think,
Yeah,
So my question to you about your AI, what AI model were you using?
so we utilized Runway, and for some of the shots we used Kling. So those of you who didn't see the movie, again, you can watch it. There's a plant that transforms, and we literally had two of the same plant. One of them was not doing well, the other was doing well. So we utilized Kling and still frame to go from one plant to the other plant. And so Kling did really good at the time for frame to frame. But the other ones I used, oh God, what was the other program I was using? There was another one that wasn't Snore at the time that we used for the AI effect. Now I'm using like Nano Banana for the stills, and but Runway has access to all of them. So that's pretty much what I utilize overall, because it has them all in there.
I use C-Dance now.
Oh yes, thank you. Seed Dance is the new one I started. Yep.
And it works good with having, if you already created that shot, to continue that shot into the next frame, you can use that as a reference to go to the next thing.
Yes, and that happened after.
Yeah.
We made
Yeah,
it.
But it's like constantly changing.
And it's good to, you can also create a master prompt. And that's what you use with all your reference images as you keep going.
Yeah, for full disclosure, I wrote a microdrama for an AI-only company. It's a sci-fi horror, and they do only comic sci-fi horror and action. And yeah, they're utilizing their AI to put the script through. I had to do an AI version of the draft to make it so that they can do one entire publishing of the series, and then they modify clips in between. But that was not possible 8 months ago. That was not possible 8 months ago. So
my next question, like rather than like a stretch goal like effect, would be, can you cite an example of the use of visual effects where the audience isn't even aware that there's a visual effect? So it's something where it's enhancing the story you're telling in a moment, whether it's a very small thing or whatever.
Well, just in one web series I did once, we shot a nice plate background of, you know, just a coffee shop, and we replaced the logo because we didn't want to use the real thing. So there was a bit of masking where we just, like there was a canopy overhanging thing with the company logo on it. So we just kind of, we turned it one color, first of all, to erase the existing logo, and then we just superimposed a new logo on top of it and recopied the shadows and things onto it. So, that was kind of the special effect where, if it succeeds, nobody notices because it just looks like a real thing. So, I mean, stuff like that, like the stuff where nobody's supposed to notice is actually really challenging. Because just even little things like if the shadows are wrong, it'll look funny, things like that. So, I mean, that was just something we did a while ago.
This is actually to what we were talking about in the editing panel is I used for one scene I used 2 different performances for one actor performance that I liked better than the other actor performance I liked from a different take, but I was able to kind of just superimpose them onto each other. So
Nobody notices that, or the smoke alarm,
yeah.
but you guys know now. That's what we told you.
Oh yeah, I mean the monkey wasn't real. I mean I don't know what to like. No, I don't think
You're a
any.
real giant monkey.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Is there anything in mind that tricks anybody into thinking it's a real actor? No, that's probably not. I don't know. Like you could literally. I mean, if you're really watching it, like. The gloves aren't connected to the arm part, so you can see like skin underneath. There's a part where the robot picks up a building and you see the helmet go, and you can kind of see the head underneath it.
There were parts where you could see into the cardboard box.
Yeah, there's a part where he picks up a building and like the empty side is facing the camera for like a good few seconds. So all, like everything. Yeah.
So maybe could you give some advice rather than obviously like just like dive in and do it? Like, what are some specific steps? Like, if anyone in here wanted to become like a VFX artist, what are some things that you suggest in terms of starting, or that you might need to know?
Well, I think the best thing was what you said, like test footage. Like if you have an idea, like it doesn't have any production quality, but just can I do the thing I want? Like when I talked about the person walking through a portal from one room into another, and the camera follows them. I mean, like I wasn't quite sure it would work, but I mean I just tested it a couple times, and that's kind of the proof is in the pudding there. So yeah, just if you can't afford going to a green screen studio and you're just shooting with like a green backdrop muslin mat, practice that. You have to practice because you have to light it properly, and you have to get the people or whatever the things you're shooting like in front of the green screen far enough so that they don't get green reflections and things. So that's something you definitely want to practice over and over again until you learn how to properly light it and properly distance it and properly process it afterwards. So yeah, I think doing the test runs was a very important thing, and it lets you learn from experience.
Yeah, that I did that with mine. Like we were like almost step by step, like building the robot costume. We were, we did like the helmet and the chest, and then we're like, okay, let's see how this looks on camera. And then as soon as we got the buildings, we wanted to see how it looked like going through. I mean, like I said, it's still got to like work with the illusion of what it is. So yeah, we shot tons of test footage for ours. So yeah, I would second that.
And I would add on, don't think you need the nice camera to do the test footage either. Yeah, there are people online like who do VFX with only their iPhone footage.
As long as it's HD, it's probably good.
You can do that, and I mean like they're able to do some really incredible things with an iPhone. So I think that don't let your camera hold you back. Like if you wanna do test footage, it doesn't matter. The footage is the footage, and then you mess with it. But definitely, I mean like right now I'm looking up stuff on miniatures because we're considering that because it's a 90s sci-fi as an alternative for making the spaceship AI. And there are creators who know how to do this, who'll be like, back in the day, this is how we did this footage, with miniatures. So just learn and then, try it out, But I think that's the most important part is to, actually do the thing.
Even phone cameras have the resolution to kind of, support anything complicated you want to do these days, yeah.
I think from my experience on doing this, doing some research, I actually looked up a lot of plugins to see what what plugins were available for After Effects to try to get closer to what I want to do without having to like really try to just do whatever I had within After Effects itself.
Yeah, and get jazzed about something. Like you see something cool, you want to recreate it. Like work on that thing. I don't care if it's super freaking hard. Try it, because the thing that's gonna drive you to keep doing it is what makes you like kind of up about it. Like what makes you into it. So pick the thing that's super hard. Just do that one, and you might not hit it, but you're gonna figure out.
Well, you'll learn something.
Yeah, exactly.
regardless, Yeah.
And so what kind of, on a practical level, like what type of software workflows are from start to finish are you using for visual effects?
Probably, I don't know. I don't know if I have cardboard and spray paint. I don't. This question might not be for me.
Yeah, I mean, I work primarily in Resolve, which, if you don't know, it's you can get it for free, and it's got even the free version. Like, there's basically the free version, and if you want to pay, you can get the deluxe features and stuff. But the free version has amazing VFX capabilities. It's got
Fusion.
Yeah, Fusion. It's got particles. It's got a really good chroma keyer, which is the green screen effect, if you don't know. It's just, yeah, it's got, the free version has an amazing VFX engine. So I mean, that's primarily where I do pretty much all my work.
Are you on a PC or Mac?
Sorry?
Are you on a PC or Mac for your?
PC.
It'll run on all three. It'll run on Mac, PC, and
Yeah. It's kind of it's not industry standard, but I mean, a lot of people use it now.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
I mean, maybe not for special effects, but it is industry standard for color.
It is.
Oh yeah, that's how they started.
Because I work in television, and we always send stuff out for Resolve for color. I actually work in After Effects just because it's easier for me. I never really went to school or anything for visual effects, but I find Fusion is a little harder for me. I can't for whatever reason wrap my head around node-based effects, but I can do it. I can do layered-based effects. It's just visually, it's easier for me to do that. And I work on Premiere, so I already kind of have it built in with my payment plan.
Yeah, everything has a subscription. So for AI effects, we start with I need a still from post. So he gets me the still shot, and then from the still shots and whatever thing I've licensed, that's how I collaborate together to create the effect. And then once I've created the effect, usually 5 to 10 seconds at a time. 10 seconds, it's not 10 seconds. Like we get more time. At a time, I will then give the effect back to him. Sometimes, if like in the last episode of She Fell from Space, the vertical version, which is mainly AI effects, that I will do like a temp edit of, just so I can make sure I have all of the integration together the way that it needs to be. Homie then looks at it and goes, I can make this better. And I'm like,
Way
fine,
better.
Fine. But that's kind of how the process goes. I get the DP gives him the footage, I get the still from him, I utilize that for AI effect, and then I pass it back to him.
Great. I think we could open this up to audience questions. Yes?
What software did you use for the gunshots in the fight?
Oh, I did think about that after I passed it over to him. There are some digital effects because there's gunshots and
Like
stuff.
laser beams. And
Yeah. That was After Effects. Yeah, but I usually edit my stuff, but I had a friend edit this one, so he used it was Final Cut and After Effects, so yeah.
Do any of you have a process for when your plan doesn't work and you need to pivot in editing? How do you make your decisions about what to do when you don't have the footage you need?
The editor stares at me meanly.
Yeah.
And is
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
why did you mess this up?
Hopefully you don't run into that because you've done enough testing.
That's what pickups are for.
I think sometimes too, less is more, so, I mean, even though these are special effects, not visual effects, for Jaws, if the special effect on set of the shark doesn't work, then you're kind of rethinking, he rethought that in the field even.
Yeah.
So I think
more around cut around it. If it
Yeah,
isn't working, then
Like,
Make
for
it
instance-
work.
Either that or do a reshoot.
Yeah,
if
do
you
a reshoot.
absolutely must
Or
have it.
neither,
Yeah.
or neither of those. You change the effect, which happened to us. We used like he had pulled a plugin that I wasn't all that into. And so we had to change the effect. That happens in the AI area too, where sometimes the AI will give me something different than what I asked for. Sometimes it's better. And then I rip off of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I can work with that. So I think when it doesn't go the way, first off, all movies do not go the way that you expect them to. My
That's why my phrasing was when it goes wrong.
yeah, when it goes wrong. The producer side of me has about 5 other things to do. Like, if this doesn't work, we're gonna do this. If this doesn't work, we're gonna do this. If this doesn't work, we're gonna do this. So it's always good to have those going into production. In the post room, I usually got a couple up my sleeve too, and so does he. You know, because nothing works out perfectly, you know, but I think being flexible helps you get there. You know, this is a very creative industry. But when it goes wrong, you know, you go, I always ask myself, all right, what else can I make?
I think in the instance of this, I just told her, I can't do it and I'm not gonna try, so we're not doing it.
We're not doing this one, we're doing this one. But you still give me an options, like, hey, look, we could do this one, or this one, or this one, you know? And like in a VFX port, you know, practically, when it's not working, you have to change it on set and be like, okay, well, we're not gonna do that joke then, you know, or we're gonna do a different joke. In the VFX area, once you're in post, you can choose to cut it, but I think that if there's something that's working about it, still about it, you can do it, or you can start researching and being like, what other plugin can I use? Can I fix it with an AI effect? Can I fix it with, we have all these tools now. So maybe, you know, sitting down and learning what all those different VFX things that are available to you would help too, because now you got more tools in your toolbox.
Another thing I would say, like, if you're shooting just a normal shot, and you're reviewing, like, you should always be reviewing your shots on shoot day. But if you know it's going to be part of a VFX thing later on in post, then yeah, like super review it, like look over it, like frame by frame if you have to make sure that it's going to be proper for the VFX thing. You need to give it much more scrutiny than you would just a normal like dramatic shot or something. Yeah.
I think you're also looking to just shoot coverage on set. So if you know you have 3 things in the script that you're kind of unsure of, it's like you'll kind of shoot around it in case you need that, because
or get 20 takes.
yeah.
One of them has to work out. Yeah.
I mean, like often in film too, it's like it's not so much the effect, it's like it's what that story beat means for a character. So it's like you can often like cut to the character and then you're into the zone of using sound, you know, for that. Like you're not trying to do too much of that because there's like an important part of spectacle to like visual effects filmmaking. So you need to like wow the audience at certain points. But also it's like if you've done that sufficiently, once in a while you can dial it back if you need to just by using a sound effect off screen and build it and see a character's face reacting.
Cool shot effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think also one other, as I call our insurance policy on this one, was we shot full resolution. There's a lot to be said for shooting full resolution or open gate and cropping, because that was our insurance policy. If we messed up, what are we gonna do? We're gonna crop it.
Yeah, awesome.
I had a question about the AI and your iterations. Trying to think of how to say this. How difficult was it to actually specify what type of camera movements or blocking, and was it actually beneficial? I know everybody here is probably on a very limited budget, so AI is probably like, hey, we can fill the gaps with that. But I guess how often did it take you to get, you know, what the director was asking for? And as a follow-on, what is your opinion in using AI in the industry? You know, all the way from low budget up to big budget Hollywood movies.
All right, the box is open. So first off, I'm also the director, so let me have a meeting with myself. But anyway, so there wasn't tons of control. There is more control now. Like when I say I'm riffing off of what the AI is giving me, yeah, I mean, how many iterations I had to do to get it to, you know, transition that plant into not a monstera because it was a Black Sea plant. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like, it took a lot. It is becoming more advanced, so it is easier. You can give it a lot more direction. It can be a lot more specific. Now you can give it camera angles. Now you can give it all these things, which you could not give it 8 months ago. They've retooled it, you know, to do more. What my thoughts are on using AI in general. Woo, it's complicated. Because the truth of the matter is that you want the problem and the love of sci-fi is effects, right? The story is always human, but if you want to do cool effects, you either have to have a big budget or you have to have something that's going to cut into that budget. And what's happening on the studio level is a different ballgame, but the problem with movies as a whole right now is that they become more and more and more and more expensive. And when you have hundreds of VFX people working on one movie, it's no longer sustainable, and it sucks. You know, we get beautiful things out of it, but it sucks because you're not going to be able to sustain a blockbuster. Every single VFX heavy movie cannot be a blockbuster. It's not possible. We can still love it, but it's not always going to be a blockbuster. So things like what Disney's doing, what Marvel's doing, where they're just laying off VFX teams, I don't agree with that at all. And when it comes to ethical use of AI, you know, I work in vertical microdrama. They're taking actors' images and putting it in there, redoing AI. That's not okay. Like, the reason why it's going crazy right now is because we don't have legal licensing around it. There needs to be licenses. We have licenses for books, we have licenses for everything else. Why are we not putting licensing on this? You know, and you know, I think that for me, when we used it before it started going wild, it was just a tool to let us do sci-fi. You know, that because we didn't have the VFX background, and we didn't have access to a VFX person, and we got a very small grant to do that, and we had to do it in a very quick way, so AI allowed us to do that. You know, so I think on smaller budgeted projects like this, and like not the $200 million projects, you know, we're trying to be able to work in a genre we would otherwise probably not be able to work, you know? With the bigger guys, they have a lot more to answer to on that.
Yeah, and I do see kind of a trend more back towards miniatures and
There is,
practical effects.
that's booming right now. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I grew up with, and I know even now better with the compositing tools that they can do that and it still have that tangible feel to it.
Yeah,
rather than the
and
digital.
one thing I just want to call out really quick, everybody is knocking that poor director who used AI to animate his own paintings. His own paintings. Like, I don't agree with that. I think when we start to get into another fields where we're copying people's likeness and we're going to town on that front, it's not okay. But yeah, I think the rejection of it, I totally understand it. You know, I mean, we actually have kind of a political movie, you know, because of what we're saying and what's happening in the movie, which what sci-fi is kind of based for. But I think that it's something that you just have to be aware of when you're navigating the space. And yeah, miniatures are taking off right now, but guess what's going to happen with that? It's going to get expensive because they're going to be high in demand. And now it's going to be hard for me to get the miniature people. So it's like, you know, it's going to keep happening.
Thank you.
Any other takers on this topic?
I personally don't use AI. Like I'm at sort of a level of knowledge and experience where I pretty much like know how, you know, in broad strokes how to pull off anything that I've ever wanted to do. So I mean, I haven't really reached a point where I'm completely lost and or like, you know, not unable to do what I need without AI. So that's just the current state we're in that.
Other question?
Here's a question.
Yeah.
So there is a wide variety, as I've heard on the panel, of like when an effect I think looks good enough. And what by that I mean is, like earlier you were saying, I think the audience forgives certain things depending on how you are, the level of fidelity of what a VFX looks like, depending on how it's written into the script, right, or the whole tone. So I was wondering if you had any advice on whether you ever like chose to do something or said like, this is good enough because the story, or like you talked about coverage, right? There are different ways to either cheat it or to say, or embrace a certain level of fidelity. Could you give an example or another example of how that's worked for you?
I think in ours, because a lot of the VFX that I did are like lightning, like green lightning shots, because the alien can kind of project electricity that's green from her body. Like when I looked at it, I'm like, I knew that there was like, I wasn't doing shadows, you know, for things. I wasn't doing like the right glow for stuff. But you know, because of the kind of way we were going about making this is you know, in a lot of ways an homage to like 90s, early, you know, or mid like 80s, kind of like Back to the Future style movies. I was like, it kind of looks more akin to those before they really had a lot, you know, more robust ways of doing that. And we kind of talked about it, and we were okay, you know, that it didn't have like look as good as, you know, a lot of movies can do it these days, because the idea was to make it look more like a movie from like the 80s and the 90s anyway, so it worked for us.
Yours is comedic in tone anyway,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
is.
have to like.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, if you're doing like a drama or like, you know, like a Marvel
Ooh, yeah,
movie or
right
something
there.
that's meant to be serious, then yeah, the level of quality has to be really, really high.
Mhm.
Whereas like for yours, which is sci-fi comedy, and mine, which is sci-fi comedy, and
We get
actually
to-
yours, which is like
Sci-fi
sci-fi
comedy.
comedy.
It's
Yeah,
all
it's-
sci-fi, guys.
Yeah,
It should be a
it's
sci-fi
it's not an
comedy
excuse to be
blog.
lazy, but you can get away with imperfection a little bit more.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm gonna reference a special effect that I saw on a major HBO show, where the show itself was a period piece, and I think it was called the Golden Age? The Golden Age?
Yeah.
There was a special
Or
effect.
Gilded Age, I'm sorry.
Gilded Age.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gilded
see, I
Age.
always mix those up too, so that's why I hesitated to say. But anyway, a character gets hit by a carriage. They literally fly off like a stiffy off the screen. Boom. You know, like when they hit, and I was like, how did that pass? You know, budget, time. You know, I obviously as I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, that pops me out. And I think that's kind of the answer. Is it gonna pop you out of the world? Are you gonna be like, oh, that's an effect? Or are you gonna be like, haha, you know? Like, if it pops you out of the world, you missed it. You know, if people accept it, then you make the mark. How do you find that out? Screening.
I think like too often like films are like fetishizing realism when all film is like a construction and it's artificial. So in video games, it's like I don't need a video game to be photorealistic to get into the drama. Sometimes it's better when it's stylized. So like another example would be Twin Peaks season 3. It's like those effects, they're not studio level
Yeah.
effects. The tone of the whole series, it's like 17, 18 hours, right? It's overall like very serious and involving some serious themes, even though it has like some surrealist humor in it. But it's like David Lynch is not trying to necessarily have the audience believe we're always like really in this world. It can become like more poetic or stylized.
Yeah,
but
you know, I fully agree with you on that too. And then also it's to taste like what we're currently accepting, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because you go back and you watch other movies and some things like, some effects you're like, damn, that's cool. And some effects you're like, oh, why did they do that? You know, like, so, you know, it's what the audience wants to accept too. You know, like we accepted a lot on the Sci-Fi Channel for a while.
Yeah.
And like an example of that for me would be where it doesn't work is like in my humble opinion, Ex Machina by Alex Garland.
Mhm.
It's like they have an AI, robot throughout half the movie that I totally buy. It's shot in this really real location hotel in Scandinavia. I'm with the whole movie, and then they just have to have one stabbing at the end that isn't a special effect, it's a visual effect. And so by making it a visual effect, they didn't want to stain the carpet on the insurance or whatever. I'm pulled out of the movie every time that I see that visual effect
I know what you're
stabbing.
talking about.
There's like a blood spot on the guy's back. And so I think like anyone's mileage may vary, because some audience members might not notice it.
Yeah, no, that's true. We all have different levels of taste, we all have different levels of noticing that, like, we will notice, I'm sure everybody here will notice something more than what standard audiences will notice.
But I mean, I think, let's go back to what I said earlier, with blood, you generally want to go practical.
It's like, I just wanna emphasize.
Like, blood is a
don't
special
do
thing,
blood.
yeah, like, it's very hard to get liquid splash, like,
Yeah, I think
in a
those real
CGI
things,
sense.
those real things, like blood, saliva, those things that you have seen in real life, that one's more likely
Yeah,
to take you
they're
that
hard,
way.
yeah, they're hard to simulate, and it's just, yeah, it looks better when you do practical,
I've not
for
seen a
sure.
robot bear in real life, so I might accept that more.
Other questions at this point, bring them. Yeah.
How do you decide when you are in the planning phase whether you're going to do practical or visual effects in post?
That's a good question.
Does this all look at him?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's blood, practical if at all possible. I guess it, like,
That was on the.
that was practical.
Yeah, that was practical, that was very believable, we stand by that, okay?
I think, again, there's a lot of factors in that decision, I think. Like, if you're making something that's dramatic and has to be realistic looking, then I think you're gonna tend to go practical whenever you're worried that it's not gonna come off otherwise. Whereas if it's something with a comedic tone and it's okay if it doesn't look right, then you can kind of go cheaper, like doing like in the computer instead. So it's I mean, that's kind of one level of decision you want to make, and then again, it's just, you know, if you're just making a short, I don't think you have to like pull out all the stops. You just kind of do whatever's easiest, as opposed to if you're making like an hour and a half feature, you want to do it properly. So I mean, yeah, there's different things that you'll get to know over time. But I mean, I would say just, I mean, for me, I would say just kind of like do tests, like test the computer version and test the practical if it's at all realistic, and just kind of judge kind of, does this one look better? Does this one look better? Like, testing is, I think, really the key here. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Really.
I think for our short, we kind of had to base it off of what was going to be kind of the quickest / easiest for us to be able to do. You know, like pictures that move in one of the scenes, you know, we did that practical. We just got like fish string that you can't see on the camera, and we just moved those that way. For the lightning, obviously, you know, we can't do that practically, so we had to do, you know, visual effects. And then just for the spaceship, because trying to get a 3D artist or anything to like render that or I couldn't even try to figure that out myself. So it just became quicker and easier for us to do AI. You know, so that's kind of the steps that we did for ours.
Yeah, producer, what time do we have? What skill sets do we have? How much does it cost? And then that kind of filters into each area. If it costs me more to do that post, we do practical. If we have the skill set to do it practical, you know, and so I funnel it through those different settings, because you will always be working within a budget, even when it's no budget. It's your budget, you know. You can't do $1 million just on the. I don't think anyone in here can, but those are the things I always consider. You know, like, what are the options that we have? What skill sets do we have available? How much time do we have? How much does it cost?
Good insight, thank you.
I think practical isn't always better either.
No.
Like, and so, because I'm in agreement with what everyone's saying, but like an example of that would be, like if you light it properly or come up with the right atmosphere for practical, you can really sell it. So I'm thinking of like the Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back. It's like, you have a practical puppet because there weren't visual effects to do it in that era. But like, then you make sure the planet is like a swamp with a bunch of steam, and you make sure that it's really low lit, like to try to get the audience into this. Like, so Jabba the Hutt is another example in Return of the Jedi. It's like you make sure Jabba's not going to be out in the sand. He's in a very dark, low lit place where there's also steam and smoke, like in the palace. So it's like, I also buy the digital Yoda, like once I got used to it, because the lighting kind of matched that stuff in some of those films, or maybe the audience taste changed. But like Force Awakens, I didn't buy the practical creatures, and I disliked going backwards to practical creatures. And to a certain extent, it was just the lighting of it. Like some of the practical creatures that are on like Jakku, like at the start of that movie, like talking about the portions and stuff, that to me looks almost more hokey than a proper visual effect might look. But there's certainly some poor visual effect creatures in the prequels.
I feel like the
Yeah,
lighting
that's
must
fair.
have a lot to do with it, now that I'm thinking about that.
It does have a huge
Yeah.
effect. It does, because it will help you sell it or not sell it, you know? And it's tough, because again, you're looking at something and you're like, will this work? Or you could be on the set, of The Mandalorian, and then Uncle Werner can guilt you into only using the practical. You know, but, you know, and then it's also, you know, what do you agree with? So like, you know, we talked a little bit about AI. If you're against AI, you're not gonna use AI. You know, you're gonna use something else. If you're only using it in moderation. I'm making it sound like alcohol. If you're only using it in certain ways, know the ways in which you're using it. But I think that it really just depends, right? Like, because again, like your taste might be different from my taste, might be different from your taste on what we like. But the whole purpose of film is you find the people who like what you're doing. You know, that's how you get to your audience.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because you're not going to please anyone
Mhm.
ever.
No,
And
you're
part
not.
of being a filmmaker
No.
is finding out, like, do 10% of people not with your film or 50% do?
Uh-huh.
Because like all of us are like taking chances with visual effects and
Mhm.
special effects. Like you're taking the chance that the audience is going to buy into this fantasy or sci-fi world, and that's inherently already more risky in some ways than creating a drama, because you know people are going to judge you for it, or maybe they won't see past those into the story being told, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, last question.
Would you say, even though you're just starting out in visual effects and things like that, you know, just do the best that you can, because you got to start somewhere.
Oh, always.
Oh,
Yeah, you always do the best you can.
Yeah, no, and always start. Always do it anyway. Always get it out the door anyway.
And I think too, if people are watching what they know is an indie film, they're not going to be as harsh as if they're watching something with a $100 million budget. You know?
Like, I would say come to film festivals, you
And
know,
see
and
what
you'll
people are-
see them, like, there are a lot of people, you know, that are just doing what they what they can do, and, you know, it helps you, I think, get perspective, what kind of maybe where you're at,
Yeah.
but.
And if you see something you really like, talk to the filmmaker
Yeah.
and say, hey, how did you do that? You know?
Although I will counter yours just a little bit on people aren't going to be a certain way. Depends on what film festival it is. But here's the deal. They're not your people. Thank you.
Also, if you're not
Yeah,
doing,
it's
if you're
coming
not doing
together.
your best, why are you doing it?
No, but like, no, hey, sometimes I'm producing at 50%. That's okay. That's okay, all right?
Sometimes the important thing is getting it done.
Yeah, it's just finishing, frankly, you know, that's more important. I'm gonna say that is more important than everything else. Than whatever in your head you think it's gotta be, finish the damn thing, because you're gonna end up doing probably 50 more, hopefully, you know? That's just one notch. And the whole point of filmmaking is just getting another notch.
But your best will change too.
Yep.
The more you do it, the better you'll get, and then your best will always be better. And you're gonna look back and go, oh.
But yeah, no, absolutely. And again, for those people who are like, to your stuff, well, you know what, baby? Make a better one.
And I think just in general, you have to be comfortable to a certain degree with not everyone's going to like your work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, if you know whatever percentage of people don't like your work, tough shit. Like it's not for you.
Our feature got, not this, but our feature got like rejected by probably like 90% of the film festivals we got in. We still got distribution for it.
And
And
that,
this one,
Yeah.
we're getting more festival runs with our short.
well, not just that. Not only did we get distribution, we won Best Feature at the Idlewild Festival of International Cinema. We won 8 awards. We swept the awards there. So, let's just say this. Again, festivals are a different beast, but I think that it's important for you to understand that you do the thing because you want to do the thing. you will find your audience.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Panelists, thank you for coming.
Hope it was useful.